Well, we've also got Jamal Walker with us. Now has a more youthful perspective, I guess. Not that he's a real young guy, but he's younger than these other two folks here. You grew up in East Palo Alto. That was the part of Palo Alto you're not supposed to go to.
Correct. That's correct. Of course, first of all, I'd like to say good morning, everyone, and happy Martin Luther King Day. Growing up, I was, unlike these gentlemen here, I was born way back in 1969.
While they were at Woodstock.
Right. Of course, there are lots of similarities to our understanding about what racism has looked like in our country. But I didn't have some of those same experiences, By the time I was getting out in the world and doing my thing, there were no places that I couldn't go for the most part. And I grew up around lots of different cultures my whole life, from as far back as I can remember. My mother is a woman who had just always had a lot of friends from different backgrounds. So the idea of racism didn't really hit me until I was about maybe eight or nine. I didn't, I saw no difference in the fact that I lived in East Palo Alto and that we had friends that lived in Palo Alto and that the landscape was different. And, I didn't have all those concepts yet, as, an 8-year-old child. I just knew we had friends all over and we went and hung out with them and they hung out with us, and that's how it was. But there was this one time when my older cousin, took me to the public pool. And, we were hanging out and, black kids, white kids, we were all hanging out and swimming and doing our thing. And then as we're getting close to leaving, there was this one white kid, and I presume he was with his older brother. And with some prompting from his older brother, came over and punched me in the face and called me that name that you're not supposed to use, And I was stunned. I didn't even really know what that meant. I had heard the word used before, but not in that context. Growing up, I think most people who grow up black have heard that word used around family and whatnot, but it was a different context. So this was like a new experience. This was some rage and some hateful spirit coming out of this kid. And he was the same age as me. So it blew my mind. It just totally blew my mind. I didn't understand it. So I had to start dealing with this concept of difference that previous to that, I had no thought of that. And then, of course, other things would happen through the years. I chuckled a little bit when Bill talked about his mom locking the car doors. Because as a young black male in particular, that was a common occurrence. Even in my time, that was a common occurrence. If I was, walking down the street and a white person or white family were in their car, you'd hear the door locks click almost every time. So that was kind of like daily stuff. A lot of what I would like to talk about is like just our differences in terms of our culture. So being a black person in the United States, I kind of have two cultures. One is my American culture that we all share in to some degree. And then there's my black culture. And that culture is different than my white friends. And I think that a lot of the times the cultural differences are really what get in our way from being able to connect with each other. So this is kind of where my mind is. This is where I'm focused right now is how do I assist others, whatever color, race, quote unquote, religion, how do we assist people in breaking down enough of the cultural myths and mythologies that we have around people so that they can get to know each other. I wrote a song not too long ago that is not ready for prime time yet, but one of the lines that I put in the song is that, hey, if you're a white person and you don't have any black friends, you need to go get you some black friends. If you're a black person and you don't have any white friends, you need to go get you some white friends. Having that connection with people, being willing to step out there and take risks. We don't like to take risks with each other because it's a scary thing. And we fear the unknown. But when we do that, you can break down years and years of myth about other people. I had this experience, about 10 years ago. And I met this white guy. We were part of the same organization. He had been in and out of prison most of his life. And of course, with the whole prison system and the way things work within the prison system, blacks and whites and other races do not mix. It's just not how it's done. It's not a part of their culture. So he hated black people, just hated black people. But as he was around me and he saw that even though he had kind of weird energy towards me, that I still had a smile on my face and I was still willing to be in the room with him and talk with him, he stopped me in Safeway. And he said, "Now I just want to tell you, I've hated black people all of my life and had all kinds of stereotypes about black people, but because of the way that you hold yourself, I don't feel that way anymore." So when people take risks, so much beauty comes out of it. So now this gentleman, and I, developed a friendship with him and everything and saw him do some really cool things in this community before he moved on. I think he's doing well, but it was just a beautiful experience. Beautiful experience. So that's what I try to do with people. That's my hope for the world, is that we take a little bit of risk with each other and know that we're going to make mistakes and that's okay. If you're not making any mistakes, you ain't trying. So we have to be willing to let that be okay. For myself as a black person, I have to be willing to let it be okay, for my friend Bill to make some mistakes with me. And he's got to let it be okay for me to do that too. And I think that we are moving towards that place. I certainly hope so. So anyway, that was really what I wanted to say so far. Thank you.
It's 9:45 in the morning here at KVMR, and we're talking about racism and you had some other better words for it, I think, Lou, if I recall, and with Jamal Walker, the Reverend Lou Powell, and Bill Drake. Jamal, did you want to talk anything about the New Bridges workshop?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I should talk about that. New Bridges is an organization that was started by a woman named Ricky Sherover Marcuse, Jewish woman who, been a freedom fighter all her life. And she started this organization to help young people deal with all these stresses about race and culture and be able to speak out to each other and to the world, in effect, about the pain of that, and also be able to be heard from other people about it. So that, that was one of the tools that was used to help break down the walls that keep people separate. And that was an experience that I got to have when I was 17. It was like a week-long camp with kids from all over the country. And, whites, blacks, Asians, everybody, gay, straight. We dealt with all of these issues. It was the first time that I was involved with something like that, where I felt like these people are talking about what I've been feeling, experience. And I got to work through a lot of this stuff about race and about culture and these differences that we have. And I think that probably both Lou and Bill said it, that we all have prejudice. All have prejudice. I was so naive back when I was 16, 17 years old that I thought that because I'm black and I have this black experience and this experience of oppression, that there's no way I could be prejudiced against other people. And learned that that was not true. It was absolutely not true. So we got to work on these things with each other. And it shaped me in terms of the attitude that I have towards people and the differences that we all have between each other. So,
if other folks want to join in this dialogue and conversation that we're having here today, you can give us a call at 530-265-9555 or 800-355-5867.